And we're live, beaming directly and live from Sydney, Australia. Today, we finally got Joe Figliano on the Awakening Point LiveCast. So I know that there's a lot of people that have been waiting to see Joe live with us. And here he is, the man himself. Joe, how are you, buddy?
Good. How are you, Michael?
Yeah, really good, mate. Really good. How have you settled back since arriving, back into Australia from your trip to Bali?
Yeah, great. Yeah, Bali was amazing. We hired a car and drove around the country. And tried not to do the tourist thing. Just kind of did our own thing and got a map and just went around the country and got to meet some of the locals and really, got into the culture. Had a great experience near the live volcano. And settling in okay. Yeah, it's I've been trying to relax as much as I can. And look, it's an honour to be on your show, Michael. Thank you so much for asking me to come on live with you. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here, mate. So yeah, good to see you.
Mate, it's an honour to have you here. Like, I've really been looking forward to this one. Your story resonates a lot with me personally and with a lot of people that are part of the Awakening Point audience who have kind of like been through a process that you've been through or going through it right now. So I think this one's going to be a really, really good one, a deep journey for all of us listening in. And mate, what I'd like to start on today is at the age of 31, your life changed completely and put you on a totally new path from where you were at. Can you share with us like where you were at before all of this started and how it kind of began, how this journey began for you?
Yeah, so I was working a job in IT, and the only reason that I did IT is because I didn't know what else to do, and it wasn't really something that I enjoyed. I started as a software developer at about age 23, and I did it more because I didn't know what else to do, like I said. But for the first time in my life, I started working hard and kind of stressing over money at that age as well. And I started my own IT business not long after that. And around about the same time, I had contracted a disease. So I remember feeling pain in my belly, and I went to the doctors, and they checked me out, and they said that I had Crohn's disease. And at that age, I had never heard of Crohn's disease before, so I didn't know what it was or what to expect. And so then went and got some more diagnosis, and eventually I learned a bit more about it, and they told me that I was going to have it for the rest of my life and that I was going to suffer from it for quite a long time. And what ended up happening is I found it really difficult to kind of accept, and simply because I was told that I was going to have it and that I was going to go through so much immense pain and problems, I actually did. Things actually started getting worse from then on, and for years I went through so much pain and suffering because of the disease, and I found it difficult to eat certain foods and do certain things. And so I ended up getting to a stage where, I kind of had enough. It was pretty difficult living through all the pain. I had extreme bowel movements, and I was going to the bathroom all the time, and I found it difficult to even sit down and play with my daughter sometimes. And I remember that happening quite often, actually, because I was too exhausted from everything. And I was told that I needed bowel surgery to remove a part of my bowel. I was told I was high risk of cancer, of getting bowel cancer, and I was on 4 different types of medications, and yeah, it was pretty extreme. Went through some depression as well, depressive states. So it was a really tough situation. But although I was in that state, like, I still worked pretty hard. I was working hard for money, and I had I had what a lot of people would call, on the outside, it looked like I had like a good life, because I had, I had a nice house, and and I had a motorbike, I had a boat, I was working on an investment, and I had a family, I had a wife and a daughter, and all that was great, but I reached a point where I realized that, I was just working hard for, and it was quite monotonous as well, actually. So I was working hard for something that was not really making me, I don't know, not fulfilling me, and at the same time I wasn't being able to enjoy my life because I didn't have my health. So that's kind of about the point when I reached 31. But also, just before then, my wife at the time had a brain aneurysm like a couple of years earlier, where she almost died. There was a high chance she was going to be either dead or permanently disabled. And I remember pacing up and down before she was meant to get, like, I signed her life away, pretty much saying that I'll give them permission to perform a surgery, which is actually extremely risky to her life, because there was like no other choice. And this is when I was about 29, and she 29, 30, and she she wasn't meant to come through, and I really started focusing on and putting attention on what I wanted, and from that experience, in relation to her health and her coming home, and went through, I don't know, I remember this night I was walking, pacing up and down the house, wondering, what's going on, what's the point of living. I had a 1-year-old daughter at the time, and I was thinking, what's the point of living, and why am I here? Is there, questioning my spirituality as well, like questions like, is there a God, and what am I meant to do? And so that was the day before her surgery, and the surgery kind of went well. I remember visualizing that night before the surgery going well. I remember seeing the doctors and their hands, and performing the surgery, and it actually going to precision, so she can come home in time, and she did come home in time, and she did make it through, and we were okay. And I suppose I looked at that as maybe we were one of the lucky ones, but also I also believed in something much more powerful. I believed in that we were so much more powerful than what we think we are, and I also started thinking about life differently, like, started thinking about living life more in the moment, and that just living life with joy, and just for the fact that we're alive and breathing is a blessing in itself. And I started looking for more peace in my life from that moment, and that was about the 31, actually, so that's right. And I was looking for more peace in my life, and looking at how I can create that. Started to take more responsibility for myself, and realizing that I am responsible for my life, and so started making changes within me, with myself first, and started blaming other people less, started blaming other things outside of me less, stopped blaming the government, stopped blaming other factors. But during that period, I also, before I stopped blaming, I started blaming even further, because at that point, that was my awakening point, if that's what you want to call it.
It's gold, bro.
Yeah. So my awakening point was there, yeah, like a near-death experience of my wife at the time, which is almost like a near-death experience for me, because what I thought was life, you know, got shaken up. And that's when, you know, I kind of started seeing things a bit more for what they are, which included society and how I'm living my life, like thinking that, you know, is how I'm living my life the way I want to live my life, or is it the way I've been conditioned to live my life, you know? So I really took a good look at that and started to get pretty angry at society, pretty angry at you know, how what society has become, and how I felt quite robotic in my place in society, quite conditioned, like as if I was doing things unconsciously and working unconsciously and building what I thought was a dream life, doing that in an unconscious fashion, because I thought it's just the way it's supposed to be. And I suppose it's how we were brought up. It's how, you know, my parents were brought up to believe. And, you know, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Just that for me, it just felt like I wasn't really consciously making choices for my life. I felt like I was just running a program. And so that's where a lot of the anger came out, and frustrations. And, you know, although I had seen a new lease in life where I was, you know, taking day after day, moment by moment, and just appreciating the fact that I'm alive, at the same time, there was anger that was building over the way that I was living my life, you know, and anger that I was building over my situation, you know. And
what was the anger about, Joe? What were you angry about?
I was angry that, first of all, I had a disease, that I was sick quite often with this disease. I was angry that, you know, at the time I felt like there's so many people in the world were being controlled. It's kind of the feeling I got, you know, controlled to, you know, have to slave away for money, and consumerism, to consume. So I felt like we were just being manipulated so we can consume and work harder, so we can consume some more, so we can work harder and consume some more, and, you know, this vicious cycle.
Yes.
And that kind of, I felt like that was the cause of a lot of stress and anxiety in the world, the fact that we need to behave a certain way and we need to be a certain way. I know that there are many other problems, such as, you know, body image for people. There were other problems such as, you know, the environment, and I was looking at the environment and poverty and, you know, homelessness, for example, and how animals are treated, and there's just this big machine that was just churning everything around for profit. So, you know, a few people at the top can kind of keep control over the whole population. I also realize now, of course, that, you know, in one way it's also needed, because without it there would be complete chaos. But it's just that, well, maybe there'll be chaos, I don't know, that's an assumption. But for me, it was like, and some, you know, some people like living the life they have because of the comforts, you know, and I can totally understand that, because without it, being uncomfortable can be very challenging sometimes. So, but for me, I just felt wronged. I felt like I couldn't trust anyone. I couldn't trust anyone, especially if they're in the system, especially if they're trained with the system, and that includes teachers and doctors, lawyers, and, you know, people that are kind of, I feel like, are keeping the system together. And so that included my own doctor and my own specialists, that were telling me that I need to get surgery. If I don't get surgery, that it's just only going to make things worse, and that I'm going to have this disease for the rest of my life. And even though I kept going back and I'm saying no, I don't want surgery, they prescribed other medications for me. So I was going in, at the time when I was going into hospital every 2 months so I can get an infusion. So that's kind of where I was at. From 31, so then that year. And I'm still, even though this is all happening, I'm still looking for more peace in my life. Yeah. So it's a tough place to be, even though there was those realizations, so there was a lot of ups and downs that year for me.
So you kind of awakened in a really, really painful time in your life on multiple levels. I mean, your wife, yourself, having these realizations about how society really is, and seeing that maybe for the first time in your life amongst this anguish. So I can imagine that it would have, tipped you right across to the other side of the spectrum, like at the beginning of your awakening. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right, because before then I was just working hard, saving money and building up investments and etc. And I was kind of felt like I was happy with that, like I'm really doing something for myself, but then from the moment that my wife had a brain aneurysm where she almost died, that near-death experience, and then me from that reflecting on what's happening with me and reflecting on life and living, and it tipped me to the other side where I was like completely disillusioned by the system that I had been living my life in, that I thought was the right way to be, is to the system knows.
Yes, and this is where I think, I'm getting this energy from you, and I see this often with a lot of people, myself included, and people close to me, where when we go through this kind of awakening, we can feel so angry towards the system that we fall into this trap of, the elites kind of controlling the world and the banking system and all that, and we can get lost in all of that conspiracy sort of stuff and get really angry about it, and kind of almost lose touch with what's important in our own lives until we start to like rectify it and bring things back to our center. Did you experience any of that during that time?
Yeah, that's right. Initially, of course, it was it felt quite off center. Before I continue answering that question, Michael, I'm just making sure that we are live. Daniel's on. Hey, buddy.
We are live. All good. Did you did the audio go out or something?
No, I'm fine. Just for some reason, it's not when I'm looking at Facebook, it's not coming up on my timeline. That's all. But that's okay. I'm not seeing it come up live on my timeline.
It should be. It should be. I'm checking mine on my timeline, and it's coming up live.
All right, sweet. All right, we'll continue. Thanks, mate. Just checking in. If that's all right.
All good, brother. All good, my man.
All right. So, I then went to I went to the extreme of really being off my center and disillusioned, and it felt like I was living in a hell at one point. Between what had just happened with my wife, what was happening with my disease, with my work, and I was working hard and thinking about all my old dreams that I had built over the years, and you get to a point where you start thinking, well, have I been wrong all this time? Have I been working so hard? What have I been working hard for? And have I been wrong about everything? And it's a really tough place to be in. I'm sure that a lot of people have gone through that.
For sure, bro. That's why I wanted you on the show. There's a lot of
and-
people going through it right now.
Yeah, you know, and there are actually, I can see that there's probably a lot of people that try to hide from it or are afraid of realizing the truth, you know. And I can totally understand that because sometimes the truth is really a hard pill to swallow, you know, especially in the beginning. But you know, eventually I started looking at life differently. So the shift, see what happens is there's the awakening point, right? And it's like it kind of breaks you, you know, and it kind of shakes you up. And it's like you're getting cracked open. But because you're cracked open, you then start to see things more for what they are, and that's the darkness as well as the light, you know.
Yes.
So you know, initially for me it was seeing more darkness and more and more and more darkness, which, you know, some people could call depression or, you know, anger issues or whatever it is, and you know, I would beat myself up a lot over that. But I kind of reached a point where through all the darkness I eventually started seeing some light, you know, and there were, even though I was in darkness, I could still see bits of light anyway, you know. There was always that hope, you know. And eventually I kind of had this realization of, you know, initially it was, you know, why am I suffering? Why am I the person that's suffering through all of this? Why am I suffering from my disease? Why me? Why me? To why me? Why me? Why do I have to suffer? You know, so you can say the same thing and it means two different things, right? So it's from, you know, why do I have to suffer, to why do I have to suffer? You know, why? What for? I don't have to. So it's just that little switch, that little. It's a fine line, right? It's just that little switch from this side to that side.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'm taking a bit more responsibility for, instead of being that victim in my life of I have this problem, I have that problem, to well, I don't have to, you know, I don't have to have this. I can choose my life, you know, and that itself, it means taking responsibility for your life. So I took 100% responsibility for myself and my life, right, at that point when I said, well, why do I? Doesn't matter what anybody says. You know, doctors were telling me, you're going to have this for the rest of your life, Joe. You need surgery, Joe. And I, like, nah. I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. All right? I said that to myself, all right? Yeah, I said, nice. Nah. I got freaking angry, right? I was freaking angry. I had had enough, all right? So nobody can tell me how to live my life, right? No one. It's up to me, right? It was my choice to tell me how to live my life. And I chose health. I chose health. And so I then, by starting to choose health, I started to imagine what it would be like to be healthy, you know. So, by the way, a great inspirational book that I read at that time was The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra, which was quite spiritual and a bit airy-fairy at times, you know, but it opened me up to a bit more playfulness.
What was it called again, Joe?
The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra.
I'm going to put it up on the screen for the audience.
Oh, I still have it here. I'll just get it. Hang on.
I knew this was going to be a good LiveCast, folks. Been hanging to have Joe on. He's a legend.
Thanks, mate. So you.
Love you, bro.
So that's the book. The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, yeah. Deepak Chopra.
Awesome.
He was one of my biggest inspirations. And so he talks about things like the law of pure potentiality, the law of giving, the law of karma, the law of least effort, the law of intention and desire, the law of detachment, and the law of dharma, which means purpose in life. Yeah? So I started looking at questions. So do you remember the questions when I said I started questioning, why am I alive? What's the point of living?
Yes.
What's the point of living? All right. What's the point? So that question, I kept asking myself that question. Like, although it came up at age 31, that question I kept asking again and again and again. And I'm asking myself, I'm asking the universe, I'm asking whatever it is, you know. And the answer, so one of the answers that I had was, maybe you're suffering right now, so you can heal yourself and then help other people. Oh, okay, that's a possibility. I like that one. I'm going to go with that. I liked it, so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to believe it. Because it's what I want, you know. So that was one of my drivers to then say to myself, you know, I'm going to heal myself from this disease. And yeah, it's happening. And I started again, just being grateful for being alive. I started practicing more of that, and I'd wake up in the morning, and although I'd be in pain, although I'd have blood in my stool sometimes, although I'd be unhappy, I'd still say, hey, I'm grateful for something. I'd pick something to be grateful for. Sometimes I didn't know what else to pick, and I'd be like, I'm grateful for the sun outside. And then I started connecting with nature more, and then I'd pick a blade of grass. I'm grateful for this blade of grass. All right? And I'd look at the intricacies of the blade of grass and see how unique it is. It's a unique blade of grass. There is no other blade of grass like it. You know, if you ever go and sit down, I don't know if you've ever sat down on grass and actually looked at each blade separately, and that there's something different about each one. You know, so
Yep.
you know, that's nature, right? And as humans, it's the same thing with us. We're so unique. There's something different about each one of us. We're all born with something that's really unique. And what I've discovered is that the only way that we can access that is to start to really look inside ourselves and stop playing this game of being like other people, of needing to follow the herd and do what everybody else is doing, which is what I was doing before, you know. And so these little moments, although it sounds quite simple that, hey, I was just looking at a blade of grass, again, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. I'm not just looking at a blade of grass, all right? That blade of grass was super meaningful to me in that moment, you know. And so by me having this belief that I was going to heal myself, right, and just trusting in that, set me on a path, right? By me saying things like, I am grateful for the sun and the greater blade of grass, also contributed to that path. And saying things like, I am grateful for my health, even though I was in pain, even though I was, like I said, I was pretty sick, right? Anybody from the outside would look at me and think, you're freaking sick, man, right? I'd be like, I'm grateful for my health. Thank you, God. Thank you, universe, for my health. Because I can still walk and get a glass of water. Because I can still go and have something to eat. Even if it's tough, I can still do it, right? I can still see with these eyes. I can still see the beauty of nature. I can still hear. So gratitude every day. Thank you. And I'd say thank you for my health. And then I'd imagine what perfect health would feel like. What would it feel like to have perfect health? All right. I wasn't settling for anything less. All right. I was aiming for perfect health. And I'm like, what would it, but obviously there is no such thing as perfect health, but perfect health to me meant the most optimal health that any human can have. Right. And I'm like, what would that feel like? And I'm like, I'd have so much energy. I'd be so happy. I'd be jumping around. I can play with my daughter all the time and jump around when I want. I can, do this and do that and do this and eat what I want and, really enjoy my food again and enjoy life again and all this zest and energy. And I'm like, what would that feel like? So I would just, every morning I would try to imagine that. And most of the time it didn't work. Most of the time I would try to imagine it and I'm like, I can't imagine that. Like, I'm just in too much freaking pain. Stuff that, I'm not doing that, right? Most of the time, that's what would happen. So, but I still believed, right? I still believed. So, and I kept going, right? Persistence. Never give up. Doesn't matter how tough you think it is. Doesn't matter how much of a failure you think you are. Never give up. There's been other situations in my life where I thought I was really crap at something, but because I didn't get up, I actually got good at it. Like public speaking, for example. I couldn't talk. Like, when I was 22, for example, I was so shy to talk to anybody. Just the thought that one day I'd be on a Facebook Live was like impossible for me. But, I knew that in order for me to get my message out there, I need to be a public speaker. Otherwise, how are people going to hear my message, So I just believed that I can do it, and I practiced, and I was the worst public speaker ever, and I was so afraid of it. It was one of the things that I was afraid of the most was public speaking. But I just kept pushing myself and did courses, and eventually, I got there, and I'm doing presentations in front of schools and universities and different countries, workshops, and so it's all happening, and I'm getting good feedback from it. So that's right. So what does that mean? That means that it doesn't matter how crap you think you are at something. It doesn't matter if you don't believe in yourself at one point. You can not believe in yourself. It's all right, But if you really want to achieve something, and you believe enough, and you start to build some belief, and you believe that you can do it, then you can, And so this journey of my healing journey started in September I don't remember what year, but it was about approximately 12 years ago. September 2006, I think. And things started changing. I started looking at life differently, like I said. I started getting more in touch with my emotions. My unconscious mind started to show me things that I wasn't seeing before, simply because I made that little transition from being from this side of the fence to moving over to that side of the fence. From no longer having that victim mentality to then having that I am 100% responsible for my life mentality. I am the person that creates my life. So it's me stepping into my power at that point and just trusting that I am. And so from that, and from that belief and from that gratitude, I started seeing more things. So I started working on my mental state, my positive thinking. All right, now that doesn't mean that I didn't have negative thoughts. I still had a lot of negative thoughts, right? And that's okay. What it means is that I became more self-aware of what I was thinking, and then decided to choose my thoughts. Sometimes is enough than nothing, is better than nothing. If you think that you can't do this because, geez, you're always thinking negative, then I don't believe that that's the case. That means that you're choosing. Because even if you just do it once more today than you did yesterday, you're in a better place today. Even if for 1 minute today, you decide to say, I am grateful for my eyes that I can see the sun, and I am grateful for the fact that I'm alive. Even if you just did that today, you're in a better place today than you were yesterday, correct?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah.
It starts with small steps, right? And something small builds to something bigger and bigger and bigger. So one step at a time, and from there is how you build it. And that's how I did it, you know. And I would put myself down a lot too. You're not doing enough, you're not good enough, you're not doing this right, Joe, you're not doing that right, Joe. Oh, Joe, you blew up again. Or, oh, Joe, you're stressing out again. And I would still say that, but then I would catch myself out and say, it's okay, you're doing better today than you were before. So I made a conscious choice to every day become a better person than the day before, to be a better person with myself and to be a better person with others. And that still remains to this day. I'm still choosing every day to be a better person than I was the day before. And that doesn't mean that I won't have hiccups. I'm human. I am continuously going to have hiccups, right? I'm continuously going to have hiccups. And that's okay. What's important is that I continuously make choices to be better. So what happened then? I worked on my mental state, as I was saying. I also worked on my physical state. So I changed my diet around so it was healthier. I did do some exercise. I started doing exercise and I did yoga. I looked at my emotional body. I started to get more in touch with my emotions, which I wasn't before. No, I was taught that I shouldn't cry. I was taught that, you know, I'm a man, you know, you need to be strong, and, you know, but, you know, I started learning to become more in touch with my emotions. I started learning to talk about the emotions that I was experiencing by saying, I am feeling, you know. And this is another important concept where we are not our emotions. I am not. So, for example, if I was going through an angry state, I would say I am angry. And I am angry, I believe, is poor emotional intelligence. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is just my belief. But when I say I am feeling angry, that is strong emotional intelligence. So the way that we communicate our emotions is extremely important to our well-being, right, and to the well-being of others as well around us. So, and again, it's just a fine line. I am angry is on this side. I am feeling angry is on that side. Because what I'm feeling angry means that I am not attaching myself to the emotion. I'm not associating with emotion when I say I'm feeling angry. It's just a feeling that's coming and going. All right? But as soon as I say I am angry, I associate with that. I become that. Everything that comes after I am is a command. All right? So the I am feeling, I started asking myself, what am I feeling right now? And I started asking myself, where in my body do I feel it? You know, and most of the time, my feelings will go into my belly. My negative feelings, for example, you know, feelings like anger and guilt and shame and all of that were all in my belly. That's why I was sick. That's why I contracted. That's part of the reason why I contracted Crohn's disease, because it attacks your digestive system, which is in the belly section. All right, and my emotions are in my belly, would get stored in my belly, and I would not be aware of that. I wasn't aware of my emotions. I wasn't aware of what was happening in my body, and therefore the disease was there. So when I started to actively become more responsible for what I was feeling, but also started to get in touch with my emotions and just listen to what my emotions were saying and listen to my body and accept them for what they are, rather than trying to run away from them, rather than working, rather than having my emotions just continuously working or doing something or continuously being busy. You know, I'd started slowing things down. You know, slowing my mental state down, slowing my body down, you know, resting more, connecting with nature more, stopping and smelling the roses, right? Literally, that's what I did. Finally, for the first time in my life, I was going for a walk around the block. I'd go for walks around the block and then just stop and look at the roses, look at the flowers, look at the bees, and actually smell the roses. Right? It makes freaking sense, yeah? So that slowing things down, I started allowing my body to process things more. So I started to becoming more aware of what was going on, and my spirituality. I started to get in touch with myself and my spirituality, through that process. So I call them the 4 bodies of self: the spiritual, the emotional, the mental, and the physical. So I worked on all of those. 18 months later, I was the first time ever that I had become completely symptom-free in over almost 10 years that I had the disease. Completely symptom-free. And so what I started doing is I started introducing everything back in terms of my physical diet. All right, so I had become a different person by then, because I had shifted a lot of who I was. But I'm like, I know that this is not a physical thing. It is so much more than just a physical thing, right? So I brought back all my old foods, all right? I slowed down my exercise routine. I started drinking alcohol again on the weekends, the way that I used to. I started smoking cigarettes again. Don't try this at home, all right? This is what I did. But, I'm not saying that anybody else should do this, but this is what I did too, because I really believed in something much more powerful than what most other people do.
So let's just clear the air here, Joe. You did this to prove to yourself, to show to yourself that it was more than just a physical body thing, that there's more to it than that. There's a deeper power. And you did that to prove to yourself, yeah?
Yeah, that's the main reason. The other reason is that I wasn't ready to give up all of those things yet. I wanted,
yes.
Although I did it, it's almost like I did it cold turkey. And like, I'm stopping all this and I'm changing my diet. And then I'm like, no, I'm not ready to let go of all of that yet. And I want to continuously experience it. So I did that for another 5 years. For 5 years, I went back to my old ways, right? Except for my emotional, my mental, and my spiritual states. Because they were on a journey now. They weren't stopping, right? But I sent my but what had happened, because I shifted my mental, my physical, my spiritual states, that was actually started to affect my physical state, where I was doing things more in moderation this time, because I was more conscious of what I was putting into my body. Now, my symptoms still never came back. Not one bit of a symptom came back. I went and got tested, and they said to me, whatever it is that you're doing, keep doing it. And they found, and my recent tests found, that there was no evidence of Crohn's disease or anything else. And it's been nearly March this month. It has been exactly 10 years.
What do you think was the thing, or the group of things that cured you from Crohn's?
Yeah, so just for the record, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, although I will have one socially on occasion.
Yes.
I did quit cigarettes for 2 months without touching anything, but now I have one socially on occasion. And with drinking, I don't binge drink anymore at all. I'll have a couple of glasses of wine here and there, or a few beers, but every now and then. But and with my diet, I have a mostly healthy, balanced diet now, and that's simply because of choice. I chose to, like I said, over time I slowly chose to live healthier and more consciously. So I want to live a long, healthy life. do whatever I can to create the right conditions for that. But also because I feel that the cleaner that we eat, the more of our spirituality we can access, the deeper we can go. And I'm sensing that just by taking specific actions and stuff. So I suppose if you're looking for the one thing that that healed me, it's the one thing is probably the belief that I can. The belief that I can. That's because that everything else stemmed from there. Everything else came from that. That's if you don't have a belief that you can do something, it doesn't mean that you can't. It just means that I think it just means that it'll make it much more challenging to get anywhere if you don't. Almost impossible, but it's still possible. So yeah.
That's incredibly powerful, bro. Incredibly powerful. That what I'm getting from just connecting with you like this and hearing your story is the power of our intent as individuals. When we switch our intent from ourselves to the outside, like instead of me, why is this happening to me? It's like you turned your intent out to the world and you started to, from your heart, really express gratitude to things, and it's like you got out of your own way and you allowed things to flow, to happen. And that's powerful stuff, man.
Yeah, that's right. And look, during this period it wasn't just about me either. Like, it was the belief that this can happen. Like, it's also believing in a higher power outside of me. I think that belief is the main thing, but I don't know, there's like an untapped force that is unseen that I feel like I've experienced it. Some people don't experience it, and that's okay, and maybe that it's different for them. Spirituality is a very touchy subject and it has many facets and different for everyone. But part of my spirituality is believing in a force that is unknown, and I don't have the answers to what it is. I just know that it is something that is beyond my intelligence.
So you take a kind of Taoist look, where as soon as you try to think of what it is, it's not it. As soon as you try to label it, it's not it.
Yeah, every time that I think I've got it figured out, I'll get smacked down. So
I like those words.
I've given up. I've given up thinking that I've got it figured out because I don't want to get smacked down anymore. Oh, seriously, that's how I felt. I'm like, even I've talked to friends. Oh, I've got this. This is how everything works. This is the universe. This is God. This is everything. And then the next day, something happens that just means I know nothing. Pretty much. I think that the Tao, there's a lot of intelligence in the Tao. But I don't know, I see that there's a lot of intelligence in everything. Like,
yeah,
I've researched so many different beliefs and faiths and even religions and all kinds of stuff, and they've all got something amazing to offer, and for me it's all of it. For me it's all of it. For some people it's none of it, and I don't know, none of it could be good too. Like, none of it could be everything as well. Like, the other thing that I believe is that that everything resides in nothing as well, and nothing resides in everything. So it's kind of like that, and sometimes it's it's really beyond our comprehension.
Absolutely, bro. Listening to you say that, I got Lao Tzu in my head. Like you sound like I'm reading the Tao Te Ching. Really powerful stuff. I like where you're coming from.
Yeah, cool. But I choose my beliefs. like it's like playing, you know. It's like being in a magical garden, or being in creating your own movie, and then being in like a fairy tale land, you know. Like some people think that I'm in the fairy tale land because, you know, the things that I say, you know, that's all right. Whatever you think, all right, you can call me crazy.
I'd take that as a compliment, bro.
But, you know, hey, it's fun. It's like being a child again, you know, just be a child and let your child side play. Use your imagination, you know, and just let it come out and play. And I do a lot of that. And just, so yeah, this is life, and I choose the belief that I want, and I choose to believe that everything that you could possibly imagine is actually real in some way. And sometimes, and like even quantum physics has shown through their research and their theories that you know, anything is possible, or possibilities actually are there, exist. But the only thing that comes that is seen is what we observe. So therefore, reality is only what we observe. All right, our reality is what we observe, although all other possibilities are always there. So that means that everything that you could possibly imagine is there. But what you experience as a reality is only what you see. So therefore, our perception affects our reality. All right. So what we perceive in our environment and our life actually influences our environment and our life. Does that make sense?
Sure does, bro. 100%.
Yeah. So I then started practicing on this, you know, like, okay, where else can I apply this to? And I'm like, well, one thing that I applied it to a relationship. And yes, a lot of challenges come with that. But from that relationship that I had, I also believed that I could help other people. And that part of the reason why I had the disease was to help others. So therefore, it's actually a gift. And I believe that everybody that has the disease actually has a gift. Although most people will probably get angry at that statement. And I'm okay with that. So it's just a matter of seeing what that gift is. And like I said, our perception affects our reality. So why not perceive what you want it to be? Why not see what you want it to be rather than seeing it what others see it like? Why be like everybody else? You know, stop following the herd and be like everyone else. Why not be your unique self? And your true unique self starts with your childlike self and your imagination. You know, nobody can have an imagination like you. That is your most powerful possession, is your imagination. So why not see it as you would like? You know? So, and that's why I believe they are gifts. And then once you start seeing it as you would like the gift, then the gift will start to show itself more and more so to you, and eventually start to show itself to others, you know, eventually. So again, that is the power of belief, you know, that can play a part in that too. So I also wanted to, you know, one of my dreams was to live by the beach and you know, help people while I'm living by the beach in a waterfront place, you know. And I used to always think that I have to work harder and save up more money and you know, have more investments, have more, so I can eventually do this, you know. And that was limitation, thinking that I have to work harder to have this. So I started seeing life differently. I started using my imagination more and playing with that. And I'm like, I just saw myself being at the beach, helping other people, living in a waterfront place, and really enjoying myself. Because the beach was my thing. And I had lived before that, I had lived like an hour away from the beach and hardly ever got there. And it kind of just happened. Everything that I imagined came through. Because again, I believed in it. And again, I used my playful imagination and started perceiving things differently to what I used to. Started seeing the beauty in everything. Started seeing the beauty in darkness, not just in the light. You know, like for example, a debilitating disease being a gift is something that is unfathomable to many people. But to me, it was, okay, this is disease, it is extremely painful, but there is a gift in here, and I need to find out what that gift is. And if you look for something, you'll find it. Whether you're looking for something that is a gift, or whether you're looking for something that is a crutch. Whatever you look for, you're going to find it. So choose what you want to look for wisely. And so that's something that I've learned. And I think that has a lot of power right there, is finding the gift in the darkness, in your torture, in your torment, in whatever pain you are experiencing, right? Find the gift. The needle in the haystack is there. Find that needle. And if you look, you will find it. And every time I have found that needle in that haystack in my life, and I've had many other times that have been painful or emotionally painful in my life, especially with relationships. Like I was in a toxic relationship long after my healing for about 2-3 years, and codependent toxic. But part of that was me helping the person that I was with, and that person is doing really amazing right now, by the way. I'm going from an alcohol addiction to nothing in a space of a short period, going from depression to living an amazing life that she wants, going from other states, other things that weren't happening, like lack of friendships and no job and all of that, to having an amazing career, that she wants, being a gym manager and now a personal trainer, helping other people, inspiring other people, and building her own communities. So, and that's simply because she made the choice to turn things around as well. And so we have an amazing friendship now, where we respect one another so much, with so much love. So that's another thing, turning a toxic relationship into something that is peaceful and harmonious. A lot of people run away from toxic relationships because they think it's no good for them. Where the truth of the matter is, whoever you're running away from is you really trying to run away from yourself. And that's another truth, another pill of truth that is hard to swallow, is that whatever we try to run away from is always us trying to run away from ourselves. And we can't run away from ourselves. We're stuck with ourselves forever. In this lifetime anyway. So why not find the gifts that we have, So the trick is in not necessarily running away from others, although sometimes having some space from other people can help us to spend time of our own, and so we can reflect on ourselves and have our own personal growth. But the trick is to really look at ourselves and know that we are 100% responsible for our life. I took 100% responsibility for my life, although that is super challenging in itself. Taking action on saying it and doing it are two different things. I know how freaking hard it is, right? But there's so much magic in that when we say, I'm 100% responsible, especially in a relationship with other people. I'm 100% responsible for what is happening in my life, and for this person being that way, that person is just a reflection of me, right? So then I look at myself and what I can do to better myself, and where can I find my peace. And by doing that, and by increasing my own self-love and my peace, that then impacts the relationship that I have with the other person or other people. That is a journey in itself. I still haven't figured out relationships, but that is a journey in itself, because you can never have the perfect relationship with other, because we can never have the perfect relationship with ourselves. All right, there's always going to be something about ourselves that is imperfect. All right, and so it's a matter of finding the imperfections perfectly okay, you know. And this is a very important, I think this is a very important process of learning to be okay with self as we are. So, which means this is the importance of that statement, is it comes down to self-love, right? Where you are okay and more than enough just as you are. There is nothing that you ever need to do. Just being, the fact that you're alive and just being is all. So just be, you know, and knowing that, you know, when we can get to a state like, just to go back, to backtrack a bit, you know, I did reach that point where I created the life that I wanted. I had that place by the beach with the waterfront, and having coaching sessions at the beach. People would come to me for life coaching at the beach. All right, and the beach was like my favorite place. Right, so that was like amazing, you know. And I still do that. I still have nature-based coaching sessions, and you know, help people to transform their lives. And I do it either online or at the beach or in the bush. You know, waterfalls, water views, you know, all of that. You know, and nature is an amazing thing. And you know, so, and then there's like other things that I've done. Like I've tried to help humanity, you know, by running events and raising funds. And I went to Nepal and I helped them out after the earthquakes and raised some money and built some classrooms and all of that. And I've done a few other different types of charity events, you know, because I want to help out. I want to help the environment, and I've helped bring community together with different events. And you know, and I'm realizing that, again, although this is a better place than before, like I'm not chasing money anymore, right? Instead, I'm chasing fulfillment, right? And I feel like I'm living my purpose so much more now than I ever was. Like before, I wasn't at all, you know. And like I said before, it all started with one small step, you know. So if you ever are in a place where, you know, I'm trying, Joe, and nothing's happening, and I don't know what my purpose is, and I feel stuck, you know, if any of you are in that place, I'm sure that many people out there are, you know, and I know that there are, I just want you to know this, that I was there too once, and it wasn't that long ago, like even 4 years ago. Like what happened with me is I moved near the beach first, but I wasn't a life coach yet. I was in IT recruitment still, right? And IT recruitment to me was a step forward from just IT, because I'm now helping people to find jobs. But I still felt like it wasn't fulfilling for me enough. I wasn't really making a difference, you know, the way that I'd like to. I wasn't needing to share my story either. I wasn't a part of it. And I felt like, although I was living by the beach, I still felt unfulfilled because I wasn't doing something that I felt was my purpose, you know, in life. And so I kept asking the question, what it is, and eventually I got to a point where, with the help of my partner at the time, who was the person I was having that toxic relationship with, who we were transitioning from the toxic relationship to a harmonious one at the time. She said, because there was somebody that was inspiring me. Her name is Lisa Rankin, and she has a book called Mind Over Medicine. And I read that book after I healed, and I'm like, this is exactly it. She's on point with everything, you know. And I remember like, oh, she's got a lot of clients. I want to do more what she's doing. And then my partner at the time said, well, why don't you become a coach then and build your own client base? Duh, why didn't I think of that? You know, so it was just like perfect. It hit me at that point. And originally it was going to be the health coach, but the health coach turned into life coach, because I feel like I'm not just about helping people to change their health. I'm about helping people to really transform their lives. Really, it's really about real transformation to me. So it kind of went from health coach to that, because I started realizing where I really fit in. So sometimes it's also really good to have people to talk to and communicate with.
Amen, brother.
Either that are close to you or that understand you, you know. And sometimes people don't have that. They don't have anybody else in their life that can understand them or that they can talk to. And if you don't, you know, maybe talk to a counselor, a psychologist, or a life coach such as myself, or a transformational coach. I highly recommend that. Like, I've helped many people since becoming a life coach and a transformational coach to really shift their life, you know, not only by just being someone to talk to, but also helping them to take action and become accountable for what they do. It's one thing to think something and think that you know something, all right? That's cool, it's fun, all right? It's great to chat about it. But it's another thing to actually take the action that's required. And when we are in a state of inaction, that can also bring about stress and depression and anxiety and, you know, whatever, which happened to me for a long time, actually. Like, having all this knowledge and then not doing anything about it properly, you know. And so it's good to have someone there to keep you accountable, to help push you along and all of that. And so, and the other thing that I'm doing now is building communities, bringing communities together in different places. Like, I've done it on the Central Coast. I'm working on something in Newcastle, Western Sydney, in Sydney, and I'm going to be moving around into different areas as well. Just having someone to connect with that are on a similar level, that can it's a heart-centered connection, right? You kind of feel it when you connect with someone on this level. You feel it in your heart. You're present, you're totally present in this space, you know, rather than talking about, you know, the news or the weather or the politics, you know, what's going on with Donald Trump, you know. You're talking about something that's much more meaningful, you know, and so it's not just small talk. And I was never big on small talk, actually. And so that, I think that connection is priceless, you know, connecting with people like that. So they're out there. There's people like that everywhere. You just got to get yourself out there and find them. So, so what I've come to realize is that, so back to another point, is what I've come to realize is that I'm still chasing something. You know, I'm chasing purpose. Like, I'll have purpose and do something that's purposeful, and like I hold events sometimes. Like the last event I hold was about 210 people. It's called LiveCast, and it brings together these musicians and artists and healers and community, and it's so much fun, you know. And I felt like my artistic side was coming out, and it was kind of something that I had brought to the world in a unique way, and it's quite an amazing feeling, you know. So, but like I said before, my purpose for life started from just taking 5 minutes a day sometimes. Like, there's small steps, right? Like I said before, like if you're in a place where you don't know what it is for you, that's okay. Just take a small step. Spend 5 minutes on research today. You know, I would do that. It starts with 5 minutes a day. I'd write a list of 3 important things, and the most important thing on my list was my highest value, and that was purpose in life. So what is that? Okay, make calls, find out how to become a life coach, for example. What courses are there? Who else is doing it? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to research? you know. And if you don't know if you need to do a course, then, because I didn't know either at one point, then who can you talk to? You know, if you want to find out what your life purpose is, who can you talk to? Maybe you don't need to know. Maybe you're already on purpose, right? Because one thing that I've learned is that it's all, I've been constantly chasing something. So I'm chasing my life purpose at one point. So I'm still, instead of chasing money, I'm chasing my purpose, right? And then instead of chasing purpose, I'm chasing happiness. So instead of chasing happiness, I'm chasing creativity. So I'm realizing that now. More recently, I'm realizing that, hey, there's nothing that I need to chase. There's nothing that I need to do. I just need to be here and be present. You know, I am amazing just as I am, all right? And you are amazing just as you are. There's nothing you need to do except for just be and breathe and just appreciate being alive. Just, it's a miracle that we're alive. Like, I think the odds are, I don't know how many million to one that the possibilities of being alive. So it's almost impossible. Was it billions to one? So it's almost impossible that we're actually alive and actually conscious of being alive and being in this place. And so it's really breaking out of those shackles, is realizing that there's nothing that I need to do, and I just am, and that's a miracle that I am.
Joe, how can people get in touch with you? Like, say, for instance, if they wanted to engage with you for coaching or anything like that, how do people reach out to you? What's the easiest way?
Yep, in two ways. The easiest way is probably just send me an email. All right,
okay, I'm just going to put your email on the screen. What's your email, brother?
So just send me an email and say hi. You know, it's Joe Figliano.
So Joe Figliano, yep.
At gmail.com.
gmail.com. I'm going to put that on the screen now for the audience.
Yep.
That's spelling right, Joe? That I've got on the screen. Right. Can you see that?
Yep, that's right.
The Joe Figliano at gmail.com.
Yep.
And do you have a website or anything, Joe? Or?
Yep. The website is www.joefigliano.com.
Okay, so that's your website.
No, it's J-O-E.
Sorry, guys. Let me do that again.
That's all good.
So joefigliano.com.
Yep. And the other thing, like, I'm really happy to just have a chat. Like, a lot of people message me on Facebook because I hold events and workshops quite often, and people connect with me on Facebook and just send me a message, you know, quite often. So just Joe Figliano on Facebook is fine, and you can message me and say hi too. And look, just if you have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer them. You know, there's no obligation. Like, I just love just being there, you know, for everyone in whatever way I can. Like, I feel like I have a new lease in life. You know, I still have my challenges. Like, being in this place doesn't mean there aren't any challenges. But like I said, it's all relative to what you see, what you choose to see, what you choose to perceive is what you're going to experience more of, you know. And with that, obviously, comes challenges in life like anything else. But I think from what I've experienced and how I've been helping my clients as well to shift, I really just want to continue to do this and spread the message out there as far and wide as possible. So, you know, if you want to have a chat, feel free to just message me. And if you know anyone else that would be interested, that would be great. Yeah, thank you for that, Michael. Appreciate it.
Oh, all good, brother. All good. I'm here to help promote people like yourself, mate. I mean, this has been beautiful for me. You've got a absolutely beautiful heart, bro. Like your heart is just. You've been through a lot, and it's amazing. I'm gobsmacked that somebody who's been through so much has just got such an intact, beautiful heart, and it just beams out of you, man. So I'm stoked that you've been on here to share this with the audience, and I know that the audience is resonating with what I'm saying right now, because they're feeling your energy as well. Bro, do you have any final message for the audience, for everyone that's listening to this now and that will see it on YouTube and on Facebook in the coming days, weeks and months, to help them through whatever tough times they're going through?
Yeah, I suppose I believe the strongest point for transformation is this, is what I'm about to say, and I've discovered this based on all my neuroscience research. So I've researched neuroscience and neuroplasticity extensively as to how the brain works. And from my experiences and experiences of my clients. And that is how you talk to yourself, your self-talk, right? So one thing that I suppose, can I talk about two things?
Of course you can, bro. You got
Is it all right?
all the time in the world, of course.
Yeah, it says let's talk about two things, all right? And that's there's three, all right? Three things. Or it can all be combined into one. So, all right. I believe that we have three power centers, or three brains. So that's the heart brain, all right, the head brain, and the gut brain, right? So you have three, and we all have three major power centers in those three places, right? So how you use them is what's going to determine your life. How you use these three power centers, right? You can have, I don't know what else to think about, but you can have a computer, all right, that can manage your entire household automatically, and can also create, say, I don't know, for lack of a better way to explain, billions of dollars of cryptocurrency, all right? But if you don't know how to use it, then it's not going to give you any of that. You're going to remain where you are, all right? And to learn how to use it takes practice, takes training, all right? Takes practice. So these are the three power centers. Learning how to use these three power centers is key, all right? So the gut brain, learning how to access your intuition, all right? And a lot of that is, what are you feeling in your body? What are you feeling in your gut, all right? Where do you feel your emotions the most? And for me, it was my gut. For you, it might be somewhere different. So accessing your intuition, learning what your body is feeling based on particular situations, So learn more about your intuition, and you can research that. You can practice that, right? There's plenty of information on it. So that's the gut brain. So 2 is the heart brain. The Heart Math Institute has done a lot of research on the heart brain, and we are coming to, so although the gut brain is relatively new as well, the heart brain is even newer information, where we're coming to a realization that the heart is probably the most powerful brain that we have. And so tapping into the power of the heart, learn how to do that. You can research that, research the Heart Math Institute, Heart Math. You can read books on it. For me, I tap into the heart by tapping into nature, by connecting with nature and being present. And breathing, and feeling and bringing awareness to my heart, sometimes touching my heart. I can connect with it. So practice that. It may not happen overnight. A lot of people say, "Oh, I can't connect to my heart." I try. Keep trying. Keep trying. Keep trying. If you think you're failing, keep trying. Like anything I did, like my, my public speaking example. I just kept trying and trying and trying. And even though I thought it wasn't working, and then eventually you get there. So tapping into the power of the heart and listening to the messages that are coming from the heart. And most of the time, the messages that are coming from the heart will be out of your comfort zone. Well, I can't speak for you, but that's what it was for me. That's what it was for me. It's out of the box, out of the comfort zone. Like, where did this come from? Like, for example, after the earthquakes in Nepal, around that time, there was a time when I felt lost. So I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I went for a walk on the beach and, connected to my heart. I wrote 3 questions down on a piece of paper before I went for a walk. I come back and I can kind of feel it, and it felt nice that for me to go to Nepal and help them out. My heart felt like so warm over doing something like that. But because it was after the earthquakes, it was a dangerous thing to do, according to some people. And it was something that was way out of my comfort zone, But I did it without question because I felt it from my heart, no question. I did take precaution where I could, obviously, and that's using the thinking. And I checked in with my gut. My gut said, it feels alright, My head brain's thinking, no, do not go and do that. This is freaking scary. There's all these problems can come up. But, I'll move forward anyway. So, stepping out of your comfort zone, feel the fear and do it anyway. Susan Jeffries, another great book. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Stepping out of your comfort zone allows you to follow your heart, and seek the intelligence of the heart. And the third one I want to talk about, and the final one, is the utilizing your brain, right? And this is a simple and effective technique, right? And this comes down to self-talk, right? How you talk to yourself is going to determine a lot. Is going to determine a big chunk of what happens in your life, believe it or not, because 95% of what we do is actually unconscious. So we function 95% unconsciously. Think about that for a minute. 95% of the time, what you are doing, you are not even aware of. You are doing it unconsciously. It's like a program that you have built in. All right. So if you combine that with the fact that consciously you are only receiving 134 bits of information per second, whilst unconsciously around us there is actually 2 billion bits of information per second. So we're only seeing a small portion of what is reality, and we are seeing what is reality based on what we perceive to be real, which is usually based on our filters that have come from our environment from the past, our memories. So our environment, our memories, our decisions, our personality actually affects what information we're receiving, and therefore affects what we do, all right? And so we are creatures of habit, which means we are basically on repeat most of the time. Right?
So true.
We're programmed. We're programmed, right? So why not change that program and become more responsible for your program, right? And that, and changing your self-talk, how you talk about yourself, can actually make an impact, a big impact on that program. For example, like gratitude was one of them, but the self-talk, I think, is also another big one. So for example, you might say, a lot of people say to themselves, I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. Now, they don't necessarily say it in those words, or they might not have words for it, right? But they may have an experience of that, on a daily basis. I'm not doing enough. I should have done this. I should be doing that. Why am I not doing this? And I haven't worked hard enough today. I didn't do this today, and so it's that brings you down. That's that undeserving unworthiness. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. I think everyone resonates with this one.
Yeah. So what happens is a lot of us are not conscious of the self-talk that's going on, but there's actually a record in the background playing. You're not good enough. You're not doing enough. You're not good enough. You're not doing enough. You're not good enough. You're not doing enough. It's playing in the background, and I've realized this for myself. I'm not saying everybody's like that. I'm just realized this for myself based on I don't know if it's visualizations or meditations or that I've done, being present and increasing my own self-awareness. I got to a point where I actually used to think I was such a positive person. Joe, you're super positive, dude. Yeah, I told everybody, yeah, I'm positive. I'm optimistic. I'm positive. But then when I spent time alone, because there was a period of time I lived alone for about 18 months at one stage, without a partner or anything. Like, I spent a lot of time on my own, and I was realizing my talk, like my thinking. I was just alone with myself and my thoughts. I wouldn't watch TV. I'd just sit there sometimes, and or I'd go into the beach and just sit there, and by doing that, I got to realize more and more of my talk, and through some form of it's a type of meditation. I'm not good at meditating, by the way. I don't like it, but when I do it, sometimes it just feels amazing. So in some ways I do like it, in some ways I don't, because my attention can't stay in the same place all the time. So if you're not good at meditating or you don't like it, it's okay, all right? But you can learn how to visualize, which is what I like the most. And visualization to me is much more productive, because when I visualize something, that's when my imagination kicks in. And by using my imagination, I feel like I have more control over my reality. And things have happened in my life because I've kind of imagined them, But again, with that's another topic in itself called intention setting, which to really set an intention, we must set with non-attachment. So therefore, if you really want something in your life, you must first want it from your heart. It needs to come from your heart, which we talked about before. And then what's important is letting go of the attachment to having that thing or experience, and just being present in the moment. And then it'll catch you by surprise when you least expect it. If you're attaching to that thing that you set the intention for, and you're not being present in the moment, then you're not giving your heart the power and the energy that it needs, because you're not present, because you're expecting this thing to come through, because you're living in the future, and therefore it'll stop it from happening. Does that make sense?
Totally, bro. Yeah.
So the thinking, the self-talk, whether you like to think so or not, I believe that we all have huge amounts of negative self-chatter. Doesn't matter how much work we've done, there's always an underlying record playing, program playing, and that's because of how our brain makeup is based on. So we have a primitive brain, our primal brain, or some people call it reptilian brain, is based on fight, flight, or freeze, which is built for survival, and it's most prominent when we're children. And we've all had experiences when we're children that kind of, some people will call them traumatic, but we've all had experiences when we were children that trigger a certain way of being, which then affects the way that we communicate about ourselves, right? And so it may have been as simple as a parent saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that. That was not a good thing to do." Maybe as simple as something like that. A parent saying that to you as a 5-year-old, and then because of that, the program is on repeat. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. I'm doing bad. I'm doing bad. I'm doing bad. And it's just a normal thing, you know, we all have it. And so it's a matter of, first of all, realizing that we have this negative side to us, and it's okay, you know. You know, another important thing is unconditional love, right? Or true love, which means that we love the dark side of us and the light side, you know, the positive and the negative, you know, just as equally. Remember, there's a gift in the negative and the dark, right? There are gifts in that, you know. So it's perceived darkness. It's not necessarily a bad place, you know. It's just something that is. It's just love in all of it. And so, going into our self-talk and saying, starting to say to ourselves on a daily basis, I am good enough because. I am good enough because. I am good enough because. So the I am good enough, for example, is an affirmation, right? But the problem with affirmations is you can say them to yourself and then not believe in them enough, and then that's gonna either you're gonna lose motivation because of it, or it's not really gonna help you much because you don't believe in it. So it's good to create something for the brain to then associate with it, so it can make it authentic, right? So, for example, I am good enough because this morning I made myself breakfast. Right? I am doing well today because I made 2 phone calls this morning, you know. I am doing well today. I'm doing great today because I went for a walk, you know. And so if the I am not enough is something that's on replay, that you think is something that could be on replay, you want to create something new. We don't want to destroy that. Let's say we can't destroy it. The record's already playing, mate. It's not going anywhere. All right, we can't delete what's already there. All right, but what we want to do is to create something new that's going to be that can grow and become stronger. So it's like planting seeds and growing a new garden, right? A nice, beautiful garden, the way that you'd like it to be. So you have the responsibility. You now have the choice to plant this beautiful garden and grow it and nurture it by saying, I am good enough because. I am good enough because I called my friend and I was there for him today. He needed someone to talk to. I am good enough because I made myself a sandwich today. I am good enough because I watched this Facebook live video today with Joe and Michael, and it was inspiring to me to make changes, right? I am good enough today. I am good enough because, you know, if you have children, I am good enough because I am making sure that my children are being fed and kept healthy, and I'm looking after them. You know, even though I'm not looking after them the way that I'd prefer, I'm still doing a good job. Well done. Well done. You're doing great. I am enough. I am more than enough. I deserve love. I deserve joy because I am confident, because I can talk a sentence and be clear with people, because I'm a good communicator. I am good enough because I read a page of this book today, you know, and it really makes sense to me, and I've told somebody else about it. You know, I am good enough. Like, it doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter how small it is. Did you make your bed this morning? Yep. Well, I'm confident. You can say to yourself, you are confident because you made your bed. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
Right? The I am, remember, everything that you place after I am is a command. Is a command. I am, whatever you put after. So I am confident. Right? Then there's the because is the reason why it's true, is your authenticity. The because doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's something that you've done. It doesn't matter how small or big it is. What's important is that you repeat, I am confident. Right? And I told a lot of people to write this down, but you don't have to write it down. What's important is that you continuously repeat it on your brain. Do that every day for 90 days. It will become unconscious to the point where you won't even have to think about it anymore. Your life by then would have changed. You would have experienced massive shifts by 90 days. If you write this down 3 times a day, or if you repeat this to yourself 3 times a day. So you can choose whatever you want. Say you want to choose confidence. I am confident because. Now, through that process, you must remember to also get in touch with your emotions. The emotional work is just as important. Right? So, yeah, I think that's it. The I am statement. What's your self-talk? Give yourself that love. Give yourself that love, and create a new new pattern in your head based on what you want to be. Even if you don't believe it right now, I'm sure that there are small things in your life that can make it a little bit more believable. And what that does, that creates new neural pathways in the brain. New neural pathways, and the more that you practice, the more that it embeds this groove that then makes it unconscious and turns it into a program that you don't even think about anymore.
That's like powerful stuff, Joe. I just know that a lot of people in the audience are going to take this on board and work with this in the coming days. And I certainly hope they do. And to everyone that's watching this and that is taking this on board and manifesting this kind of change into their life for the better, Joe and I would love to hear your feedback through our contacts, through social media or email or whatever. That's what it's all really about. So, Joe, I'd like to thank you from my heart, brother, for spending this time with us. I've really enjoyed it, and I'd like to invite you to be back on the show. You and I will be in touch more and more now. I'd love to have you back on as a regular, brother.
Thanks, Michael. Look, it's been an honor and a pleasure. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be on your show. And I'm really touched by your comment. You're seeing me through the heart, and I'd just like to say that that's just a reflection of you, brother. Right? You're an amazing being yourself. Thank you. And
thanks, Joe.
You're welcome. And yeah, thanks everybody out there for listening. And yeah, just contact me anytime. I'm very approachable. If you have any questions or you want to chat, that's all. Thank you.
Joe Figliano, thank you, brother. Thanks for being on the show and sharing your heart with us.
You're welcome.
Look forward to the next one, man.
Thanks, man. Big love. And I'd love to be on the show again. See you soon.
Look forward to it, brother. And to the audience, we love you guys too. Thank you for joining us, and keep your head up, keep your heart strong. We'll see you on the next one.
Okay, thanks, man. Bye.